Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. When people think about the book of Numbers, a lot of times the first thing that comes to their mind is judgment. And there is a lot of judgment in the book of Numbers. We see God pronounce judgment on the people who failed to enter into the land of Canaan because of their lack of faith. We see the Lord judging Korah and the rebellion around him. And then we also see him judging them for the complaining about the manna. And the list goes on. There's a lot of ways in which the people had failed God and as such incurred judgment on themselves. But what we must not forget also is the faithfulness of God. The faithfulness of God is all through the book of Numbers as well. If we go all the way back to Genesis chapter 12, and we could say also chapter 15, with the Abrahamic covenant and the promises given to Abraham, we are beginning to see already in the book of Numbers how God is still continuing to be faithful to the promise that he made to Abraham. We saw the promise of blessing given to Abraham by the Lord fulfilled with Balaam. And you remember Balak wanted Balaam to curse the people, and Balaam couldn't say anything against the people. All he could do was pronounce blessing over Israel, the camp of Israel. And then we could also think about the land, the promise of the land. And we see that in our reading today, where they're already beginning to, the Lord's already telling them, okay, this is going to be the borders of the land that I'm going to give to you. This is how much you're going to be able to take of the land. And God is already making plans for them to enter into the land. The second census that's given of the people is all for the purpose of the inheritance and being prepared to giving each tribe and each family the inheritance that they are allotted. And then also we see not only blessing, not only the land, but also descendants. An interesting thing is if you compare the counting of the people at the beginning of the book of Numbers and the counting of the people at the end of the book of Numbers, after all the judgment, after pretty much the whole first generation had been wiped out, they only lacked a few thousand people from that first count. And you think about a whole generation from 20 years old and upward being wiped out, and yet they still not lose very many of their people. It's estimated that there was probably 1,200,000 people slain in the wilderness in connection to that first generation. And yet that when it's all said and done, when they were about to enter into the land, they were only lacking about probably 1,200 people, 1,200 men that were counted. And so the Lord is being faithful with the descendants to say, just as Abraham was promised descendants like the stars of the heavens, we see the Lord still maintaining them as a great multitude. And even though a whole generation been wiped out, when they go into Canaan, they're going in as a great multitude of people. And so we see God fulfilling the promise to Abraham in connection to blessing, in connection to land, and in connection to descendants. And so God's faithfulness is still there, even though his judgment, yes, had been dished out because of the unfaithfulness of the people, because of the rebellion of the people, because of the complaining of the people. But God still remains faithful in all the mess. He's still faithful and is still going to accomplish his promise. And that's something that can comfort us. As we look at the world around us, we see a mess. We see the world in chaos a lot of times. We see a lot of things that are happening that perhaps disturbs us, makes us wonder about the future, wondering what God's doing in the midst of all of it. And maybe we don't always understand what's going on, but one thing we can be assured of is that God is faithful to his word. And we can bank on God fulfilling his promises through Jesus Christ and his promises through his prophets and through the apostles. And we can be guaranteed that if we cling to Christ, if we hold fast to God's word, that he will be faithful to us and that we will one day receive the promises that he has given us. So this ought to encourage us to keep on keeping on, to keep on fixing our eyes on God, keep on walking by faith, even when everything looks chaotic, when everything seems like a mess. Still look to the Lord. He is faithful to his promises. He's still going to keep his word. and he will one day bring us into glory. So these are some things that we can be comforted by and be encouraged by. And with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.